Picture this. Things have been going well for a few weeks. She started texting first. She brought up plans for next month without you asking. She looked at you a certain way at dinner that told you everything you needed to know. And then almost overnight, something shifts. She gets slower to reply. The warmth cools off. She starts finding reasons to be busy. And you have no idea what happened because from where you're standing, nothing changed. Except something did change. You did. She likes you. Maybe she has not said it directly, but you can feel it. She's warmer than usual. She's texting first. She's making a little extra effort to be around you. And this is exactly the moment where most men take something that was working and quietly destroy it, without ever realizing they were the one who did it. This is not a video about how to get a woman interested. This is a video about what happens after she already is, because that is where the real damage tends to happen. And almost nobody talks about it. Here is the mistake. The moment a man senses she is interested, he increases his effort to match, and then keeps increasing it, past the point where it is still attractive, until the entire dynamic collapses under the weight of his own eagerness. Let me explain why this happens, because it is not stupidity. It is actually a very human, very understandable reaction. When someone shows you interest, especially someone you have wanted for a while, it feels incredible. Your brain lights up, and the natural instinct is to lean all the way into that feeling, to reward it, to make sure she knows how much it means to you. So you start texting more. You start being available constantly. You start planning further ahead than the relationship has actually earned yet. You start telling her how you feel before she has even asked. None of this comes from a bad place. It comes from excitement. But here's what nobody explains to you. The exact tension and unpredictability that made her interested in the first place is the thing you are now dismantling piece by piece, in real time without noticing. Attraction is not a switch that turns on and then stays on regardless of what you do next. It is a live wire that has to be maintained, and the way you maintain it is almost the opposite of what your instincts tell you to do the moment you get confirmation that she likes you. Let's go through exactly where this shows up, because once you can see the pattern, you can catch yourself doing it in real time instead of only recognizing it after things have already gone flat. The first place this shows up is texting frequency. Before she showed interest, you were probably texting at a normal, sustainable pace. A message here, a reply there, some space in between. The moment she starts responding warmly, most men flood the channel. Good morning texts, random check-ins throughout the day, long paragraphs about your feelings. Every thought that crosses your mind gets sent to her immediately because the dopamine of her responding is intoxicating. Here's the problem. Texting like this does not read as interest to her. It reads as availability without limit, and availability without limit removes the small, healthy uncertainty that kept her curious about you. When you were slightly harder to predict, she was reaching towards you. Once you are constantly present in her phone at every hour of the day, there is nothing left to reach for. You handed her the entire thing before she even asked for it. The fix here is not to go cold or start playing games. It is simply to keep your natural pace. If you are the kind of person who checks his phone occasionally and replies when it's convenient, stay that person. Do not suddenly become someone who texts back in 4 seconds every single time just because she is now warmer toward you. The second place this shows up is emotional oversharing. She shows interest, and suddenly you feel safe enough to unload everything. Your past relationships, your insecurities, how much you have been hurt before, how rare it is to feel this way about someone. You are trying to build closeness, but what you're actually doing is front-loading vulnerability faster than the relationship has earned it. Emotional intimacy is supposed to be revealed gradually, as trust is built through actual shared experience over time. When you skip that process and hand someone your entire emotional history in week 2 because she gave you a green light, it does not feel like closeness to her. It feels like weight. She is now holding something heavy that she has not had time to actually want to hold yet. The better approach is to let vulnerability come out naturally, in response to specific moments, not as a download the second you feel safe. Share the story when it's relevant. Let her ask questions, let it build instead of arriving all at once. The third place this shows up is dropping everything else in your life. The moment she shows interest, a lot of men quietly cancel their own plans to make room for her. Gym sessions get skipped so you can be available. Time with friends gets cut short because she might text. Projects you were working on get abandoned because your attention is fully redirected onto this one person. This feels romantic in the moment. It reads as devotion from the inside. From the outside, and eventually to her, it reads as a man who does not actually have much else going on, which is exactly the opposite of what made you appealing to begin with. She was likely attracted to a man with a full life that she wanted to be part of. The moment that full life disappears and gets replaced entirely by her, there's nothing left to be curious about, because you have made yourself entirely about her. Keep your gym schedule. Keep your friendships. Keep your projects moving. Not as a strategy, but because those things were the actual substance of the man she became interested in, and removing them removes the substance too. Think about it from her side for a second. She met a man who trains consistently, has friends who actually call him, and is working towards something. 3 weeks later, the gym sessions have quietly stopped. The friends have not heard from him, and every evening is somehow free because he cleared it all for her. She did not ask for that. She is not flattered by it. She is quietly recalibrating her sense of who this person actually is, because the man she is now looking at is not the same one she got interested in. The fourth place this shows up is rushing to define things. She shows interest, and within a short window, you are already asking, what are we? Bringing up exclusivity. Talking about the future, wanting to lock in labels before the relationship has had any time to actually prove itself through real experience. This comes from anxiety, not confidence, even though it can disguise itself as decisiveness. The anxious version of you needs the label to feel secure, because uncertainty is uncomfortable, and a defined relationship feels like it removes that discomfort. But rushing the definition process signals exactly the opposite of what you are hoping it signals. It tells her you need reassurance faster than the relationship has actually built trust, and needing reassurance that fast is not attractive, regardless of how justified the feeling is. Let the relationship define itself through consistent behavior over time. If it's real, the label becomes an obvious formality, not a nervous negotiation you initiated 3 weeks in. The fifth place this shows up is becoming completely predictable. Once a man knows she likes him, a strange thing happens. He stops bringing anything new to the interaction. The version of him that was interesting enough to attract her attention in the first place. The one with opinions, plans, a sense of humor. His own direction quietly disappears and gets replaced by someone whose entire personality has become agreeing with her and being available. Predictability itself is not the enemy here. Reliability is actually attractive. What kills it is predictability paired with a total loss of personality, where every interaction becomes soft, agreeable, and centered entirely around keeping her happy, instead of continuing to be the person she was originally drawn to. Keep having opinions. Keep making plans she has to adjust to sometimes, instead of always adjusting to her. Keep being a full person, instead of quietly downgrading yourself into a background character in her life, the moment she confirmed she wanted the main character. The sixth place this shows up, and it tends to appear a little later than the others, is possessiveness disguised as care. Once a man senses she is invested, a quiet fear can creep in underneath the excitement. What if this ends? What if someone else notices her too? That fear often gets expressed as increased questions about her time, subtle comments when she mentions a male friend or coworker, or a need to know where she is and who she is with that gets framed as just being interested in her life. She will feel the difference between genuine curiosity and monitoring almost immediately, even if she cannot articulate it right away. Genuine curiosity feels like being seen. Monitoring feels like being tracked. The first one deepens trust. The second one starts quietly teaching her that your security depends on controlling information about her life, which is an enormous amount of pressure to put on someone this early. The fix here is uncomfortable, but necessary. The fear of losing her is not information about her loyalty. It is information about your own nervous system, and it needs to be managed internally through your own stability, not through extracting reassurance from her by monitoring her time and attention. Now here is the important distinction, because I do not want you walking away from this thinking the answer is to withhold everything and act uninterested. That is not what this is about, and doing that is just as damaging as overinvesting. Because performed distance reads as fake the same way performed indifference always does. The actual skill here is matching her energy, not exceeding it. If she texts twice a day, you do not need to text 6 times to prove your enthusiasm. If she is warm but not yet fully invested, you do not need to already be planning a future to prove you're serious. You simply respond at the level she is bringing, plus a small amount of your own initiative, and you let the relationship build its own momentum at its own pace instead of trying to accelerate it through sheer force of your own eagerness. This requires something most men are not comfortable with, which is tolerating uncertainty without immediately trying to resolve it through more effort. The urge to fix uncertainty with intensity is exactly the instinct that ruins this. Uncertainty in early attraction is not a problem to be solved. It is the actual mechanism that keeps someone leaning in. It helps to understand why this works the way it does. Desire in almost every context is generated by the gap between wanting something and having it fully secured. The moment that gap closes completely and instantly, the wanting has nowhere left to go because there is nothing left to reach toward. This is not manipulation. It is simply how interest sustains itself in any relationship, romantic or otherwise. A goal you have already fully achieved does not motivate you the way a goal you are still moving toward does. The same mechanism is running underneath her attraction to you, whether either of you consciously realizes it. So, what do you actually do differently starting now? Here's what this looks like in practice, not just as a list. Say she texts you something warm, out of nowhere, in the middle of the day. The old instinct is to drop everything, respond within seconds, and match her warmth with double the intensity, telling her how much that text made your day. The better version is to genuinely enjoy it, let yourself feel good about it, and then respond later when it fits naturally into your day with a reply that matches her energy, rather than escalating past it. Same warmth, different pace. That difference is the entire skill. First, notice your own texting pace before she showed interest, and hold yourself to roughly that same pace afterward. Do not let her warmth become an excuse to flood her phone. Second, let vulnerability come out in pieces, tied to actual moments, not as a download the second you feel emotionally safe. Third, protect your existing life, your gym schedule, your friendships, your goals. These are not obstacles to the relationship. They are the reason the relationship exists in the first place. Fourth, resist the urge to define things early. Let consistent behavior over real time answer that question instead of a nervous conversation you initiate out of your own need for certainty. Fifth, keep bringing your actual personality into the interaction instead of quietly replacing it with agreeableness. Opinions, plans, humor, direction. Keep all of it. Sixth, when that quiet fear of losing her shows up, resist the urge to manage it by monitoring her instead of managing it within yourself. Go work out, call a friend. Remind yourself of who you were before she showed interest, the version of you that did not need constant information about her whereabouts to feel secure. Here is the core thing to understand before you go into your next interaction with her. Her interest in you was earned by a specific version of you, one with a life, a personality, boundaries, and a sense of self that did not depend on her validation to function. The moment you abandon that version of yourself to chase the good feeling of her liking you back, you are not moving toward her. You are removing the exact thing that made her move toward you in the first place. Stay the man she got interested in. Do not upgrade into someone more available, more intense, more eager. That man is not an improvement. He is a downgrade wearing the costume of devotion. If this helped you see where things go wrong right when they start going right, subscribe. New videos on exactly this every week.